Welcome back to another PT Pro from the Optimal Body Podcast. I'm Dr. Dom.
I'm DocJen.
And today we're going to be talking about overactive quadriceps, this muscle on the front of your thigh. Why does it feel like they're working so hard? Why does it feel so tight? Is it causing knee pain? Let's get into it all. So I think this whole topic of overactive quadriceps is so common because so many people are forward dominant, and we're going to dive into what that means and really what you can do about having overactive quads. But before we get into it, please comment below. Are you someone who feels like you overuse your quads? Make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell because we have so many videos that come out, these podcasts as well as videos that Jen comes out with movement related stuff that can help you with certain diagnoses or restrictions. So make sure you're around for all of that. And now let's dive into overactive quads. So we're here to kind of dispel some little myths that go on with this, with as far as the glutes being sleeping or it being, the hamstrings just aren't strong enough, and tell you how to start to re-coordinate. I think that's one thing that we're going to keep touching on as a recurring theme. Like, it's more about the coordination of how our quads are working with the rest of the muscles around the hips.
Exactly. And just because you have tight quads doesn't mean that stretching or foam rolling them is the only thing that's going to kind of reduce that overarching tension that you're feeling.
It also doesn't mean the quads are strong.
Right.
Necessarily, because they feel tight, people always think like, oh, my quads are overpowering this, like, or are they just overworking because of some of the other things we mentioned, like coordination, like a lack of strength throughout the range of motion of the quads. That, there's so much that we could dive into here, especially because the quad is a muscle that crosses two joints. It crosses our knee and it crosses our hip.
Yeah, and so understanding why the quads feel so overactive and over dominant, right, in this pattern. Especially if we are having a lot of tightness, if we haven't addressed it because we're constantly sitting all day long, or we're hanging forward into our body, this forward dominance in this posture where you're kind of hanging on what we call our Y ligaments. So right into our hips, we kind of hang forward. Maybe we're standing into our toes. We notice a little more toe pressure when we're standing. Yep. That could drive that kind of quad dominance into our mind of what our mind and body kind of feels a little bit more. And when something is a little bit tighter, or we're always in this position that's a little bit more forward, then our brain tends to activate that first, or that's the first thing that we feel. Doesn't mean that's the only thing working, okay? But it's the first thing that we tend to feel.
So when you squat, when you go up and down stairs, just getting up and down from a chair, you might be biasing into a slightly more quad dominant movement. And that's again where we kind of return to that coordination bit. Like, how do we start to get ourselves trained out of that coordination? Because a lot of people, might say like, oh, the quads are overpowering. We need to stretch the quads. We need to strengthen the hamstrings and glutes. That might be a part of it. It might be good to find some more length in our quadriceps. It might be good to be able to find some more strength and activation in our hamstrings and glutes. But again, how do we start to bring that to our everyday life and use our glutes and hamstrings and coordinate more of a hinge pattern, or get our body moving a little bit differently throughout the day, so we're not continuing to just go back and perpetuate those patterns that our body has learned so well. Just go run upstairs, you're going to go right back to that same pattern. So let's start at the beginning. How do we start to address this quad over dominance? And we've talked a little bit about mobility restrictions. Mobility restrictions in joints, either at the knee or the hip or around the knee and the hip, can really start to bias how we move. If we have restrictions in our ankles, if we have limited dorsiflexion, then we're going to be getting that mobility elsewhere, maybe by allowing the knees to translate forward a little bit more.
Or just coming up onto your toes when you squat.
Yep, coming up onto your toes, which is going to then bias a little more of that quad dominance. If we're restricted at the hips, if we don't have great hip mobility, into hip extension, hip rotation, again, that could be impacting why we're biasing more of quad dominant movement. If we have pain elsewhere, like pain in our low back or pain up the chain, we could be compensating with our movement in a way that might put more pressure on those quads. So some of the things that you can do to start addressing, say, ankle mobility, try and do some dorsiflexion stretches, whether you're doing a straight leg kind of calf stretch into the wall, also doing a bent leg calf stretch into the wall, focusing on our foot mobility. Can we we allow our feet to pronate, which is flatten into the ground? Can our feet then supinate, where we can kind of create that arch ourselves? Big toe mobility, our big toe extension is so important. So can you sit on your toes, which might be a bit intense, or even just cross your leg and pull your big toe back? How much big toe mobility do you have?
And it can provide a little bit more access into getting lower into that squat. So now we can use more of those hips with those knees as we're squatting. Because ideally when we're squatting, everyone's squat is going to look a little different. We've talked about this before on podcasts, and your anatomical hip structure and determines a lot. Your length of your top of your leg determines a lot. Your torso length, so a lot of these things kind of determine differences in what it might look like when you squat. However, if we can improve this hip mobility in general, improve the ability to move that hip into internal and external rotation, a really quick one we talk about all the time is hip 90-90. So doing something like that, hanging in the bottom of a squat, so hanging onto something and getting down low in a squat, it's going to help to create more of that hip movement with that knee movement when you're going into a squat. Because what I see a lot, again, if someone is super upright and not bending from the hips a lot, then we're only utilizing a lot of those quads in a squat rather than getting both the hip and the knee to work together.
Yeah, and then just really assessing around the hip, how is my mobility in all the other major muscle groups? So yes, the quad, doing a quad stretch, whether that's laying supine and pulling that heel to your butt, or
supine meaning?
Not supine, laying prone, I meant.
So on your stomach.
So laying on your stomach and pulling that heel to your butt, or doing it in kneeling where it kind of looks like a hip flexor stretch, but you're trying to pull that heel up to your butt to focus on stretching that quad. Hip flexor stretch. It's also great to assess, okay, how do I do with hip extension? Doing some adductor rocks, so with your leg kind of out to the side and assessing, am I tight on the inside of my leg? All these things would be great to test out to say, oh wow, I feel really tight in this area. That could be a good area to address when you're doing warm-ups, when you're doing cool downs, to again start to feel something different.
Right. And so we're starting to open up all around the hips and the ankles so that we can then create a different movement pattern when we go into the squat. That's ultimately what we're trying to do and trying to create so that you can, like Dom said, feel something different. It's really about recoordinating that movement, and the first step is opening up that mobility. So then when we start to go into this new range of motion, how do we slow it down, create better strength patterns in like bands or TRX in front of you so that you can get a little bit more length, but slow down the movement, get a little bit more depth within that squat and hold the squat at various ranges of motion. Can I feel my full foot, maybe kicking off the shoes when you're doing that, so that you start to see, okay, where is my core and my breath in this? Where are my glutes in this? My quads are still going to be working because I'm still doing a squat pattern, but how can I start to feel different areas of my body just through doing holds or slowing down the movement? That's a great way to start to recoordinate and reconnect that mind-body connection.
Anytime you slow down a movement, I feel like it points out where your restrictions are. But this is one where you're kind of kneeling and you have somebody either holding onto your heels, or you have some big dumbbells that you stick your toes under, and you slowly allow yourself to go forward to the ground, and you'll feel your hamstrings just turning on and activating. Great one to start to train strength through the length of the hamstrings. And then you kind of reverse that to do the quads. So you're kneeling and you slowly start to lean back, and you'll feel that tension build up in those quads. You can also do this by holding onto something like TRX, like an exercise band, to just give yourself a little assistance so you can go further and then go back up.
Yes. And then starting to do something different within your squats or your hinges and deadlifts, So maybe you can use a little external assistance to kind of feel different areas within your body. So say with side steps, going back, for example, someone who always feels your quads start to burn as you're doing banded side steps, and you should really be feeling your glutes. One thing that I like to say sometimes is stand about a foot away from the wall and then sit back so that your booty is just grazing the wall.
Yeah.
And your knees kind of stay over your ankles. And as you open the band and kind of move to side, you should then feel a lot more of your glutes because we're more in this hinge pattern. The knees are barely bending. They're staying over the ankles. So starting to use this external feedback, maybe in a deadlift, rather than your knees coming forward all the time, you have like 2 yoga blocks stacked behind your calf, and your calf has to stay connected to those yoga blocks as you do a deadlift motion. Now all of a sudden, again, my knees are going to stay a little bit more aligned. They're not going to be able to shift forward, so I'm going to have to hinge more into my hips. Or for squats, if you know you have super limited mobility right now, you're stacking a little books or plates underneath your heels so that you can get a little bit more range of motion in your hips and your knees.
And I think, again, what these exercises are going to help you do is distinguish between that hinge pattern where you're more of a hip dominant pattern and the squat pattern, because Jen just named off a couple of each of those. Like when you stack something under your heels and do a squat, or if you're doing a goblet squat holding a weight in front of you, your knees are going to translate forward. You're going to be in more of a knee dominant or quad dominant pattern. Okay, how can I try to feel like I'm driving through my heels, driving through my glutes, feeling my glutes activate throughout the squat, even when I'm in more of a hip or a knee dominant pattern? One that I love to do is if you feel like it's tough to get your hips translating backwards during a deadlift, if you can kind of hook a band up to whether it's a weight rack if you're in the gym or a couch or the leg of a sturdy table, and then put that around your waist, then you can kind of feel how that pulls your hips back. It'll help you keep those shins vertical and get into more of that straight leg deadlift type pattern.
Yeah, so many external cues are so good to be able to use in order to start feel this. And then another way that we recommend coordinating and starting to get used to this movement pattern is by doing single leg work as well. So I might feel a little bit more hips rather than so much quad. You can do it that way. You can do a single leg deadlift even using support. So having something beside you so you're not working on balance, but you're really working on driving those hips back behind you as you do that single leg deadlift and then come back up. Again, can I feel the entire foot? Can I press through my entire foot? Can I push the ground down away from me rather than lifting the weight up? But these are different cues that we're saying really help to understand how you're better activating through this movement, which we show a ton through the full body low impact plan, especially as you're getting into exercises and strength workouts. I really break down the movement so much to help you re-coordinate what you're feeling so that those tendencies you tend to feel can start to open up and you can get broader acquainted with your range of motion in all these different exercises.
Yeah, and I think building strength through that mobility, once you start to open things up, then train the awareness of the hip hinge pattern versus the quad pattern, more of a hip dominant hinge versus a quad or a knee dominant squat. And then how do you start to bring that into those functional activities like lunging, like squatting, like going up and down stairs? And like Jen said, I mean, this could be outlined perfectly if you went through the knee or the hip plan in Gen Health. It would address a lot of those underlying mobility issues, and then went into the full body low impact plan. You're going to go through so many different strength workouts where Jen coaches you through how to do these things in a way that will help you learn your own restrictions, train out of them, become more aware of how to integrate them.
Thanks for sticking around and listening on another episode from the Optimal Body Podcast. We really appreciate you being here. So please drop comments. Did any of this make sense? Do you need more clarification on anything? How can we help you? So that we know how to create future episodes on issues that you might be having when you're working out, or things you're still noticing, things you need more clarity on. Please let us know and we'll create videos for you. So don't forget to subscribe on your way out too.